Okay, do over. Sorry about that.
Okay, we'll call the City of Portola regular city council meeting, August 10th, 2022 to order. Please stand and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Councilmember Olds.
I am here.
Councilmember Powers is here via telephone. Mayor Morton,
Here.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Cooley,
Here.
and Councilmember Stan Tyler.
Here.
Okay.
Moving on to public comments. This section is intended to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda. Do we have any public comment?
I am not seeing any yet. I'm given a little time if they're wanting to try to raise their hand. I don't see any public comments.
Okay, no public comment. We'll move on to city communications. Council reports. Councilmember Olds.
Just tossing up firewise leaflets in the park concerts. A lot for this time.
Okay, Councilmember Tyler.
I have had no city planning meetings, therefore nothing to report tonight.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Cooley.
I attended a special joint meeting of the Lassen County, Modoc County, Plumas County, and Sierra County Board of Supervisors, which took place on July 26th. The special interest of the meeting was that it was for the purpose of receiving a report from the U.S. Forest Service Pacific Northwest region on the subject of U.S. Forest Service for that region regarding their National Forest Management and Fire Suppression Plan, along with post-fire rehabilitation restoration programs. It was a very interesting program and interesting to find out why some of the things that seem so obvious and why don't they do that and why did it take so long. There are generally reasons, whether we think that it's sometimes a bureaucratic delay. I would say that that is not a bureaucratic delay at a local level, that it goes much higher than that, and that there are certainly people who are trying to do the best they can with the orders that they receive. So it was an interesting session and interesting to hear from some of the supervisors of adjacent counties, and certainly we share a lot of the same concerns. Also attended the Plumas LAFCO meeting, and I don't have anything special to report out of that. It was primarily procedural issues that were addressed. I did some wildfire fuel reduction work in a couple of different park spaces across the city. And I attended a Cal LAFCO University webinar, which was on the topic of Revenue and Tax Code 99, and found that very interesting, and hopefully gain some information that I'll be able to apply with respect to the idea of forming a new fire district. End of report.
Okay, I also attended the LAFCO meeting. And most of it was, like Tom said, it was on the MSRs and different items like that. Also, I've attended the music in the park. And that's all I've done. I need to say that. Okay, staff communications.
We have about Bill.
Probably have Bill Powers.
Oh,
I'll ask him to unmute. I think he's on with two different sign-ons, so let's see which one he wants here. There we go.
Okay, I think I made it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my report, I attended the LAFCO meeting. I've been monitoring but from afar last Friday night's Music in the Park and operating through the other ones. I am home with COVID. Now I tested positive for a second time this morning. So I guess I have another 5 days at least. I wanted to give a shout out to Tom Cooley. He just jumped right in last Friday and worked the MC duties at Music in the Park and just did a tremendous job as usual with everything he does. And I was involved with some of the hazard fuels reduction around town over the past few weeks. And darn it, I think that's about all I have, and wished I wasn't sitting here. I wish I was sitting there.
Okay.
Okay, staff communications.
I think we'll do fire report. I think Gay is on here
Okay.
for fire report.
Okay. The Beckwith Fire Division 1 and 2 total for July, their calls is 32. And year to date, it is 233. Division, the July total division for Beckwith calls was 11, of which 7 were medical aid, 2 were motor vehicle accidents, and 2 vegetation fires. For Portola, there were 21, 14 medical aid, 1 vehicle mishap, vehicle rolled over on 2 victims while they were working on it, 2 fire alarms, 2 vegetation fires, 1 electrical fire, and 1 landing zone request. There were 4 pages in air for the Portola Division 2, all of which were Eastern Plumas Fire District calls. And 1 page originally to Eastern Plumas that was Beckwith Division 1's call. And that was corrected and BFD was, Beckwith was paged. This is a total of 5 calls that were paged to Beckwith or Eastern Plumas in air by the fire control. On a better note, this last Sunday, we had Grizzly Ranch had a, let me get my notes here, had a Firewise Day event. John Reynolds, our chair of the Firewise Committee, who is also the president of the Plumas County Fire Safety Council, Firewise Council, organized it all. We had a nice barbecue and our Grizzly Ranch people attended, as well as Captain Ruben Villa attended, and other Beckwith Fire volunteers, and Forest Service Paul Ichterburn. I know I'm not saying that right, but they spoke to us about hardening the landscape and all the things we need to know about controlling the burn. Paul spoke about the mutual respect between the Forest Service and the Beckwith Fire Department. He told us that they know where our service vehicles are at any given time, and that we know where they are, and it all makes for a very cohesive protection. Paul also said that he has never worked with a better volunteer fire department than the Beckwith Fire Department. And that was met with applause for Ruben and everyone else, and made us all feel very good. We had a raffle. A lot of the Grizzly Ranch owners donated a bottle of wine, and so we had a case of wine to raffle off. and a couple of donations from Dow Winery. And it all culminated with a, where are we? A $2,030 donation to the Beckwith Fire Department. So we were very pleased with that. That's the end.
Thank you. Sheriff's report.
Yeah, Sergeant Clumby is present. We'll get him on.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hope everybody's doing good this evening. Last month, so we're going from July 10th to August 10th through today. In the in our area, which is when I say our area, it's includes Beckwith, Chilkoot, Portola, Gray Eagle, Delaker, and the entire and that entire area. We had 258 calls total. In the city limits, we had 131 calls total. Of those, that includes medical aid, fire, and law enforcement. Of the law enforcement calls, we had 14 disturbance calls throughout the month. That includes 2 assault calls and 7 property crimes. That includes vandalisms, burglaries, and thefts. Of those, there were 8 arrests and bookings. What's kind of interesting is even though last time I spoke to you guys, it included the 4th of July weekend, the city had the exact same amount of calls, 131 last month as it did this month. So we're being very consistent on that. The only thing else I'd like to let everyone know is on August 27th, down in Gray Eagle, they're going to have a law enforcement fair. It's going to include Plumas County, CHP, Sierra County, Fish and Game, and the U.S. Forest Service Law Enforcement Branch. There's going to be canines down there. There's going to be food, gifts, and things like that. And also, we just were able to book Jack Danny for a couple hours, so he will be down there from for the first 2 hours, which will be 3 to. It goes from 3 to 7. Jack Danny will be there from 3 to 5. So anyway, if you guys are not doing anything on the Saturday the 27th, head on down. It should be fun. Thank you. That's all.
I've got a clarifying question for Sergeant Clumby, if you don't mind. Hey, Tom, out of the 131 calls to the city, the 14 and the 7, those are city only, right? Not the whole area.
That is affirmative. I just try to give you guys an overall and then what the actual calls was. But as far as like the disturbance calls and the property crimes, that is city only. Correct.
Yeah, perfect. I thought so. I was just making sure. Thank you.
No worries, sir. No worries.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Air quality report.
I see Mickey on here. We'll see if she has something to report.
Hi, yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yep, so Mickey from the Northern Sierra Air Quality Office. The primary report today is just that September 24th at the Veterans Hall here in Portola, the Air Quality District is going to host a Burnwise event, which was annual up until COVID, but we are resuming that event this year. It will be from 11 to 3 p.m. at the Veterans Hall. On our website, which is airdistrict.com, there is a flyer available, and there's also a way to subscribe on our website to receive email updates, which would include information about the event and other good information about the wood stove change-out program that's still taking place with air quality. So that's September 24th from 11 to 3. The Beckwith Fire Department plans to be present along with different wood stove change out vendors, heat pump installers, and other local businesses. So that'll do it.
Okay, thank you. City manager.
I think I see him here. Yeah, so just a couple things. We are still searching for administrative clerk position. We've got a couple applicants. We're going to try to get a few more and start scheduling some interviews. I'll reserve my comment maybe for later for that position right now. The community cleanup program, I'll report on that. The south side, sometimes I have to get my compass in order in my head. The south side, we had 56 properties identified. 41 of them have been done. We still have 15 pending finishing up, ordering some dumpsters and items like that. We've also identified 83 more properties on the north side to be done. So this is, I would consider this a pretty successful event so far. Most people are really happy about getting their properties cleaned up. Most of the folks just weren't really able to do it. We do have some property owners that we were able to bring a dumpster and they were able to do it themselves and didn't really have to use some of our own labor force to do that. So for the most part, I think there's a little bit of rekindled pride in home ownership for some of these places, and you can noticeably see the difference around town. I would say that is it right now.
Okay, thank you. Good job on doing the cleanup.
Yeah, you guys are doing really great.
You said 83 more on our side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, the consent calendar. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. The city council will act upon them at one time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or interested party may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Additional budget appropriations will require a 4/5 roll call vote. Yeah. Nominations?
You make a motion here?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2522, authorizing payment of claims for the period of July 13th through August 10th, as well as approval of July 13th minutes.
Sounds good.
Was that a second by you, Councilmember Rolls? Okay. Okay, we have a first and a second roll call vote. Councilmember Olds,
Yep.
Councilmember Pyler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cooley,
Yes.
Councilmember Powers,
Yes.
and Mayor Morton.
Yes.
Okay. We're done.
Okay. Item 5, RFP groundwater monitoring services proposal reviews.
Okay, we have Tom Valentino online. Instead of me trying to introduce this topic with any detail, I'll have Tom do it. But basically, we went out to bid for contractors. The opening of the bids were, what day is it? Last week.
That's Thursday.
Yeah, I think it was last Thursday, but Tom will correct me. Tom reviewed several of the bids and he has a recommendation to award to a particular contractor, and I will have Tom make some comments on it and then open it up for discussion. If that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, John, and good evening, Portola City Council. It's Tom Valentino. I hope everybody's doing well, Mr. Powers included. At Portola landfill, the site which we closed in 2014, we are required by the state of California to monitor groundwater and the impacts of the landfill on groundwater. We have 8 wells that have been installed around the landfill footprint. And we monitor those on a quarterly basis. What that means is we collect samples and we submit them for a laboratory testing. And we do specific tests such as for general chemistry constituents, volatile organic compounds. Once a year, we test for metals. So we do that on a quarterly basis. And we also collect 3 samples from 3 domestic wells located along Sunset Drive. This program has been going on for a long time. I've been involved with this since 1993. We have a sampler that has been working with us for approximately 20 years, Pat Flynn from Sierra Environmental. He has recently moved out of state and is unable to collect samples anymore. I resigned 2 years ago from my position over at Lassen County. And I've continued to work with the city of Portola, but it seems like an appropriate time now, since I'm moving towards full retirement, to get a new firm in to do this specific service to groundwater monitoring. On July 6th, we issued a request for proposal. We sent it out to 7 companies. We had 6 firms submitting proposals. Each of the companies are qualified to do the work. So we went with the lowest cost company, which is McGinley and Associates out of Reno. We envisioned a 5-year contract commencing this calendar quarter, third quarter of 2022, and going through the second quarter of 2027. Pretty straightforward what we've done here. We have a waste discharge requirement order from the state of California. We're required to do these quarterly tests, and on a semi-annual basis, twice a year, we send in our report, which I've been preparing. And then I certify that report as being true and correct. The company that has submitted, McGinley and Associates, they've been around for a while. They're a well-respected firm. Caitlin Jelly is the director of the company. If we do execute a contract with the company, she would be in charge of the program. She's also a registered, state of California registered civil engineer, and she would do the report certification. So they would be a full service company, McGinley and Associates. And what we're asking for is city council's authorization to enter into contract negotiations with that company. Caitlin, you're here. Do you have any comments you'd like to add?
No, I think you introduced us pretty well. Just generally, I'm Caitlin Jelly. So I live in Reno. I've been doing environmental consulting for about 12 years, and I run our due diligence and remediation program at McGinley. McGinley has been around for 22 years now. We just celebrated our 22nd anniversary. And as Tom alluded to, we are well suited to do this work, and we're super excited to start working with the city of Portola. We do work with several other landfills as well as many other groundwater monitoring projects. We have lots of experience under our belt and are happy to help out.
And the idea here is to make this a seamless transition. So I'll still be involved at least for another year here, doing the report reviews and that sort of thing. So there's really no hiccups. The state of California is very serious about this. They look at these reports in great detail. So it's something that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to and doing the work in accordance with our waste discharge requirements order. Is there any questions?
It's hard, it's difficult to see heads nod through Zoom without a video.
Do we have any public comment?
I don't see any public comment on this.
Okay. Any discussion? Questions?
I move that the council direct staff to enter into contract negotiations with McGinley and Associates for the contract proposal that was made in the recent July 6th RFP.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call vote. Councilmember Olds.
Yes.
Council Member Pyler.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cooley.
Yes.
Council Member Powers
Yes.
and Mayor Morton.
Yes.
Okay, looks like that item is done. Thank you, Tom and Caitlin.
Thank you.
Move on to item 6. Susan Scarlett, Finance Officer, adjustment to compensation.
Okay, I'll briefly describe what this item is. It's in Susan's contract, I believe it's item number 2.5 in the contract. It allows for additional compensation for work that's has to be done over and above the regular work that she does, which she already does over and above the regular work that is outlined in the contract. But the purpose of this specifically is to deal with the public records requests influx that is sort of unprecedented. When Susan, and I'll let Susan describe better what I'm going to describe here or articulate, when Susan volunteered to help, because we do not have that administrative clerk full-time position yet, when she volunteered to help with the public records request, I have a feeling that Susan thought it wasn't that much different than, you know, past 20, 30 years of public records requests, and soon found out that it's quite the opposite. I sort of paused when I gave my manager's report for a reason in terms of trying to find an administrative clerk to fill the position. And I thought I would just wait for here. I received 2 inquiries on the phone by prospective applicants for the job. And their reason, those 2 reasons alone, after they reviewed and were reading articles and paying attention to the city, sort of exact words, but they don't want to have anything to do with certain members of our public and work for the city if they're going to be treated that way. We might be having challenges trying to get people to work for us because of the behavior of some members of our community and not even of our community. So I'm just going to put a period at that. This particular item, again, I'll let Susan discuss more specifically of her experiences, but we don't need a budget amendment or anything. We haven't been paying an administrative clerk, so there are funds in the budget to pay for the work that Susan is having to do over and above the work. So I think I'll just stop right there and let Susan comment if need be, or.
I don't know that there's much to say. My contract is for an average of 20 hours a week. It was written that way because during audit time, like right now, I might put in 140 hours in a month instead of 80. And then I might take a vacation sometimes. So even at that, I'm probably still checking emails 10 hours a week, but it's written that way, and it's, you know, more flexible, and I've never really, you know, worried too much about it. Normally in the past, the only time I've had additional compensation is if it's been for something that's reimbursable outside the city. Like right now with the Encode, there's certain parts of the Encode process that I bill for that then will get billed to the grant. So then John's right, when it was like April, I think, I said, I was trying to get him not to have to deal with the public records request because he had enough to learn and do. And so I did say I'd take it on, and it's been a challenge. It's been very interesting. At this point, you know, I was okay until July when I put in 30 hours just on public records requests, and that was the time I actually tracked. I know there's more than that, which was, you know, I already had, I think, 120 hours in for the month and another 30 in public records requests. So this is really, I think really honestly, John could have, you know, made this decision since it's not a budget amendment or anything. But, you know, I'd like the council to know what's going on. And if you do see additional compensation for me on the checks, then you'd know what that was for. At this point, I would like to be compensated for July. I'm not worried about last fiscal year. Yeah, you know, I took my lumps for a few months, but I think after last month, I really do feel like additional compensation is needed. My going rate right now is $57.69. If you divided it out, it's really more like $10, but,
That
so, we certainly would appreciate council's approval on that. And going forward, if there will be a time where the position's filled again, and any of the minor things that I've done for public records requests, I would never ask for compensation on. But this is a very unusual situation. Thank you.
Any public comment?
I don't see yeah, there is some public comment. Antoinette.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to thank Susan for stepping up to do all of that and address all the public records requests. I just wanted to, the comment I wanted to make was, what a shame that we have to pay her to do an additional duty to her regular job when most of those public records requests are just a nuisance. But I also just wanted to thank her for stepping up and doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Any discussion?
What kind of action are you looking for?
I believe just to approve to pay Susan what she's requesting for her work in July. Is there?
And going forward.
And
Until we
going
get this
forward
thing.
until we fill the position. The exact dollar amount is not, like Susan mentioned, we could have just done this under the purview of city management, but despite what some people think, we do like to have a transparent government. And when there's additional funds that are going to be dispersed over and above the contract, it's nice to have the council know and support that going forward. So I suppose the action would be to approve compensating Susan for additional duties over and above contract.
I'll move to approve extra compensation for Susan for additional duties that she's taken on those, and do so with much gratitude.
Thank you, Phil.
I'll second that, and by seconding, I also want to say thank you, Susan. I know that there's been a big influx in public records requests, and for the record, just showing that the amount of requests that is generated, along with knowing that organizations are short-staffed already, puts a burden on employees, but dedicated employees such as yourself are very appreciated. So
Thank you.
I'll add my thanks as well. Thank you, Susan.
I'll add mine as well. Thank you.
And looks like our city attorney did raise his hand.
Oh, okay.
I know we have a first and a second, but I don't know if you want to hear
Let's
comment.
hear it.
Okay.
Got all this.
Steve.
Evening, council members, I'm just suggesting a little more refinement and clarity on the motion to approve the additional hours worked by Susan at that rate of $57.69 an hour, presuming that is the rate going forward. Question to John and Susan.
Yes, it's in my contract for the next 2 years.
Got it. Okay. So I would just suggest that the motion be amended to clarify that the additional compensation is at that stated $57.69 rate.
Is that motion good for you, Phil?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, you got that, Mercedes? Okay, and you're still seconding that
Yes.
amended motion?
Yeah.
Okay. No more comment? We'll take a roll call. Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call vote. Councilmember Oles.
Yes.
Councilmember Pyler.
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cooley.
Yes.
Councilmember Powers.
Yes.
And Mayor Morton.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That will Call adjournment to the meeting.
6:35.
Thank you all for attending. This has been a pleasurable night in council meeting. So thank you, and you guys enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night.